handling child support. Child support garnishments come in sometimes hot and heavy, maybe every once in a while. Could always be some kind of a quirky thing you have to deal with them. They don't all kind of just happen the same way. But we have to deal with them, and so today we're going to be discussing the laws, the rules, the regulations, the terms, the definitions, the priorities, how to handle child support in the payroll office, some best practices for you. We're also going to look at medical support orders, which may come separately from the income withholding order, and we're going to work on some of the math today. Yes, math questions. So we'll be doing all of that in the next 90 minutes. So first of all, the first question I usually get when I'm conducting a training class on child support is, why am I doing child support? I'm in payroll. What does that possibly have to do with payroll, child support? Well, if you look at the history of child support, it'll make a perfect sense to you. We've, as a nation, have been trying to collect the support for children from the non-custodial parent since the early 1900s. And basically, it's never worked. Now, why do we want to collect this money? What's the big deal? If that guy doesn't want to pay for that kid, why is it my problem? Well, because of the way we've set up our national security, okay, that we've set up for our citizens. All countries do this. They all have a social system in place to help people who kind of need some help. We have welfare, we have food stamps, things like all countries have this. But in the United States, we set it up back in the 1930s under the Social Security Act that we didn't want any children starving. That was kind of our logic. So we said if somebody needs food for their kid, they can go to the state. Well, the custodial parent, I'm going to use she for the custodial parent and he for the non-custodial because I'm used to my child supports being males. Okay, it's not that they always are, it's not, but it's just easier to use one pronoun. So the father doesn't want to pay for the child. So the mother has to have food, so she goes to the state and gets food. Now, this costs the state money. And up until the 1970s, we were kind of willing to pay for this. But it kind of got too expensive. States couldn't afford it anymore. So that's when they said, hey, we got to get these, what they were then termed deadbeat dads. We don't use that term anymore, but that's what it was called. We got to get them to pay for their own kids. So they started passing a bunch of laws. Because prior to these laws being passed in the 1980s, only 10% of child support really was ever collected, 10 to 20% was ever fully collected. And then there's another 10 or 15% that you got some. Okay, now that's not saying that every person that was supposed to pay child support didn't pay it. That's not true. My father paid child support until I was 19. So people paid their child support, but not all of them, and that was the problem. So it was not really collected very well. Then they found out in the 1980s that if we gave it to payroll, it got collected 90% of the time. That payroll was supposed to collect it, and the only reason they didn't was either the guy left or he didn't make enough money that week. Maybe he was out sick, or there weren't enough hours or something. So because we were so efficient at our job and because of the nature of our feelings toward child support. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's put it this way. I don't care that his parents were never married, and I don't care that she's a witch with a bee. Okay? I'm a disinterested third party. I could care less. All I know is I have piece of paper. I take the piece of paper. I complete the piece of paper. I file the piece of paper. I process the piece of paper. I take the money, and I pay it. That's all I care about because I'm in payroll, and that's what I do. So they found this out, that this worked the best. And that's when they started really lapping the laws on us. And we'll talk about those laws. So as it turns out, in fiscal year 2016, $25 billion with a B dollars of collected child support, that's 75% of all child support, was collected by payroll. Now, what's the other 25? Well, if you're somebody like Steven Spielberg, you usually don't get a paycheck, okay? You might arrange that differently. If you're somebody like Donald Trump, okay, where, the money is different at that level, let's just face it. So those are the ones that usually go separately, that the person is self-employed or that the person is of a bank account where they can just take it out of the bank account, okay? So that's why we're doing this. And that's why they come down so hard on us, because we are the major collector now of child support. So they've given us 5 steps in which for us to process child support. Now, the first step is report new hires. We are required since the 1990s to report all new hires. So, okay, report new hires according to whatever the state says. Somewhere in between the day they get hired for up to 20 days later, you have to report them. You can report them on paper, electronically. You can report them to the National Child Support New Hire Reporting Registry. If you're a multi-state employer, you can just report twice a month to them, and they'll dispatch it out, disseminate it to the states. Okay, that's covered. Respond to employment verification requests. They're basically employment verification requests or verification of employment, VOEs. You can hear them both either way. You can know the terminology there. If they say, is this guy working for you? Yes, he is, and I respond. Now, there is a slight problem with how you may be responding to those. I believe it's Michigan, and you might be using something called the work number, because the work number, it's a software that you can report new hires to, that you can report or they will fill out employment verification requests. There are some states that are now not working with them because they're starting to charge fees. So be very careful. It's called the work number, and that seems to be the one that is causing us the problem right now. So if you use that particular one, make sure the states are accepting it. So that's step number 1. We're all covered. Now, the rest of the webinar, we're going to have to be worried about steps 2, 3, 4, and 5. First of all, withhold the income. Second, enroll the kid in for medical insurance if needed, if you're requested. Disperse the payments you withheld, and if they finally terminate them. So those are the steps we're going to talk about today. Now, there are very many different types of garnishments that you might deal with. So this is kind of the usual suspects that we've got here, and this is the usual priority of withholding. Child support comes first, followed by a federal tax levy, a federal agency debt. That is a debt where if you got overpaid on your Social Security or something like that. A state tax levy, you didn't pay your state taxes, a creditor garnishment, student loan, and a bankruptcy. Now, once we get down to here, okay, all the way down, we don't know where they're going in. I'll be honest with you. We're not really sure where they fit in, because a state tax levy may say that it's better than a creditor garnishment, but that's totally ruled by state law. So the states rule where the creditor garnishments fall in and where their state tax levies fall in. Student loans are up there with creditor garnishments, so if there's another creditor garnishment, we don't know quite what to do until we get them both online. And then bankruptcies, I'm going to talk about bankruptcy state because it is possible. I am not saying it's common. I've only heard of it once or twice, but every time I say it doesn't happen, somebody comes back and says, yeah, I just got one the other day. So it is possible for a child support to be included in a bankruptcy, okay, and we will talk about that. Now, the only difference to this, okay, is that if the federal tax levy is received prior to the child support order, you are by law supposed to honor the federal tax levy. Now, I'm not sure if anybody does that. I've asked. I haven't found anybody that does it. And here's why. Not even the IRS wants to take food out of a child's mouth, okay? So what usually happens, and we're very lucky that we do payroll now, because back when I started on payroll, everything fell to you to get this all right. Everything fell on payroll. Okay, you send me an income withholding order for child support and half the information's missing, it's my fault. I have to go find it. You send me a federal tax levy and it's not dated. You send me an income withholding order and it's not dated. I have to find out the work. So we're going to talk about how that's changed now, especially for child support. But one thing you still are and always will be is the communication hub. However terminology you want to use that. If you're old like me, you could say party line. If you're younger, you could say that you're the Twitter account or the Facebook or the Snapchat or the Instagram. You're the one everybody goes to, okay? You are the lead person. Why is that? Because you're the only one that knows everything that's going on. See, in other words, I'm a child support agency sitting in California. I have no idea this guy has a IRS tax levy. I'm an IRS agent sitting in IRS land somewhere in Washington. I have no idea this guy has a child support, but you know both. So that is why sometimes it's up to you to communicate with the other parties. All right? So if you get a federal tax levy after you've received a child support, you're fine. You just take the child support first. If the federal tax levy has been received prior to the child support, for example, let's say I got a federal tax levy in 2017, but I didn't get a child support order. In fact, the child wasn't even born until 2018. Then obviously the federal tax levy would have come first. And that doesn't mean received in the mail first. It actually has to be processed before. All right. Then what you need to do is basically contact the child support agency and contact the IRS and let them know. And usually the IRS will back off and it will come first. Now, let's talk about the laws, the rules, and the regulations. We have 5 laws that basically affect child support spanning from 1970 to 1996. Okay, that was the area where, and actually it's 1970 and then it jumps to 84. Now, I started payroll in 77. This is my 40th year. Or I just did my 40th year end. So basically what's happening is,
thank you so much for taking a few minutes to watch this clip from one of our online meetings. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, stay up to date, and stay compliant. This video is brought to you by GRCTS. We are also known as GRC Training Solutions. And here's a quick information about us and what we do. We conduct many compliance and non-compliance training courses throughout the year, covering some of the most important areas within several industries. Our focus is to provide the best and the most up-to-date classes to our audience. All training modules are designed and facilitated by industry subject matter experts who possess years and years of experience and understand compliance very well. Our customers attend our online classes from all over the world. If you're not available to attend live meeting classes, you can always opt in to get unlimited access to our on-demand or recorded classes. We also provide in-person and face-to-face workshops, on-site workshops where our experts will visit your company at your location and train you and your colleagues, LMS trainings, and finally corporate subscription plans where you pay a little amount to enjoy unlimited access to our courses. We have monthly, quarterly, and annual subscription plans. Here's our contact information for you. If you're interested in learning in any of these topics, or if you know a colleague or a friend who might benefit from our classes, please contact us or visit our website for more information. It's www.grcts.com. You can always send us an email, support@grcts.com, or just give us a call, 248-233-2049.